Well, good morning, good morning. If you are listening, welcome to episode 2 of the COMMUTE, where we're just talking. We're going to work. We're going to talk about stuff that happened overnight, current ideas, thoughts, just whatever, right? We're just hanging out. We're two buds, or a girl and a gal. We're going to work. All right, that's the whole premise of this. But that being said, first off, good morning. It's a lovely Tuesday, July 28th, 2026. So my first thing on today is Iran. There was no action in Iran, right? Nothing happened, which is a good thing, and for some, bad thing for some. The oil is down, right? The price of oil is down. Now, does that mean we feel it in your pockets? Not necessarily. It more just means that the oil markets like stability, and they're happy about the fact that we're not setting off bombs, right? But no, so that being said, that's Iran. Really quick, like I said, markets like stability. No matter how you feel about the conflict itself, diplomats are talking. Hopefully this can all be resolved soon. If not, then it looks like we will be in another longer war, at least America will be, which is where I am, for those who do not know. Oh, that's good. Lemon, Mio, and lime juice in water. Top notch. Top notch, I'll tell you that. Alright, well, my next topic this morning, excuse me, make this turn real quick. Like I said, I am driving for real, so I gotta be focused on the road while I'm also talking to y'all. So in the markets, I talked yesterday about earnings coming up. Okay, there's lots of big tech earnings coming up. 4 of the big ones: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta, Facebook, Google, however you want to think about it, right? Or not Google, I say that wrong, but Meta as in Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. So they're all going to come up. So now the question is, right? This is the genuine question. So if earnings are high, the stock market and such will react positively, right? Because it's showing growth. The economy is looking good because people are spending money, right? You only make profits and earnings, people spend money. Now here's the question that I want to pose. And it's just a deep thought. Okay, just to breaking it down for a moment. At what point, right? At what point do you feel? Here's me asking you. Do you feel like if all these companies come out with these massive earnings, right? If Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, they all come out and they say we're making trillions of dollars, hypothetically, but they're making lots of money, right? Do you feel like their employees are getting fair wages? Right? That's a good question, right? Some would say yes, because there are some engineers, right? Like I said, I'm in IT, in the IT world, so I know that there are top dollars that can be made in this sector. But I also know people that work, like the Amazon workers that are making $15 an hour driving a truck, or vice versa. And then you see, because I saw this the other day, like people that work at Buc-ee's. For those who don't know what Buc-ee's is, it's basically a super gas station, right? And if you're joining in, thank you for joining in. I guess I don't have the audio thing set up yet. I apologize. So I'm just gonna be talking. And if you don't want to like it, then I'm sorry. I will get better at the audio. I just got my camera to be able to stay up. Last time, if you were here last time, around 10 minutes in, we'll see if we make it 10 minutes. My whole contraption fell. I don't know what happened. My whole contraption fell. Back to my point though. So do you think, because there's this thing, everybody talks about unemployment, right? Unemployment, people don't have jobs, this, that, and the other. I don't know if you are familiar, because it's something I recently learned, so I'm just curious about underemployment. Okay, now think about that. Unemployment is you don't have a job. Underemployment is you do not have a job that can, rather, one or two things can fit into the criteria. This is my opinion, right? This is not fact for the underemployment criteria itself. If you have a college degree in business and you work at Starbucks, I consider that, my opinion, is underemployment. You spent X amount of dollars, X amount of years at a college, and now you work at Starbucks. Nothing wrong working at Starbucks, but you invested in your future, took on student debt, assumingly, and unfortunately, the wage you're now getting is most likely not going to optimize you to make good on what your actual degree is, right? You're not using your degree in day-to-day life. So that's one thing. Second thing is kind of what I talked about briefly just a moment ago, was there are some jobs that you can get, like let's say you're a history major. I'm speaking purely out of opinion and hypothetical. I don't know for sure because I'm not an expert in salaries on everybody. But let's say you have a master's in history or a doctorate in history, and you're making 120K a year, and there are people out there that can make that without a degree, just with certifications. Simply speaking, from my world of IT, you can just get some certifications and get it. Now, it's a competitive field and you have to get fairly lucky, but you can make north of 120. So that person who just spent, I don't know how much to get a master's degree or a doctorate, and now they're making the same as somebody who in theory could get certifications and kind of work their way in. That doesn't sound fair. That sounds like there is something wrong with that. Right? Now, do I know the answer? No, I don't. I don't know the answer. I'm not that smart. I wish I was. I wish I could solve all our problems like this. But there's got to be a solution. Now, what is the solution? This is where my head goes. Okay? I don't care how you feel about the tax code. I don't care how you feel about taxes. Most Americans, I can only speak for myself, I live in the South. We all like our money. We don't like the government having our money. But I will say this. I do not think that broad tax cuts across the board fixes anything. Now, let me explain this. Let me explain my thought, okay, before you jump on down my throat. This is why. The government doesn't make money. Do they print money? Sure. Well, we can go down that rabbit hole in a different episode. Kind of. Yes, not really, but kind of. Do they make money in the sense of selling a product? Right? A government has a GDP. That is not the government making money. That is us as a people in the government produce enough product and make enough earnings to pay a tax. Like that's our exports make the GDP. Okay? So now, if you tied corporate taxes, stay with me. If you tied corporate taxes to the amount of people that you have on a social program, or the amount of people you have above a poverty level, or the amount of new hires you have that are, if you want to be pro-America, American, or just making jobs, okay? If you tied that, now you got to be careful with that, because that's where we can get down a slippery slope, right? Because I'm speaking purely from an American point of view. I don't want to get caught up in the flack of hating the world. An American point of view, that underemployment number is too big. So now, if you hire that American working at Starbucks with a master's degree, and you can give them enough money where they can get off of needing to be on social welfare, therefore saving the government money in that moment, but then also increasing their lives. Now we can get to a different subject of healthcare prices themselves, but we won't get into that today. Okay, that's a whole, that'll literally be, I'll have to commute to work there and back and not go into work, and we have to just talk. That's the only way we can get through healthcare. Healthcare's got too many holes in it. And like I said, I see you guys. Thank you guys for commenting and chatting. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio one on, so I can't hear you, so you just got to hear me ramble. If you don't want to hear me ramble, I get it. No problema. So, back to my point though. Right, so the issue is, if you can somehow tie taxes to job creation, the amount of people not on welfare or not on a social program, because in theory, the job of the company is to make jobs for people to then give them a better life, right? Is that not the point of a job, of a career, of a company? Obviously, it's to make money to sell stuff, but if you're selling stuff, right, and you're just making all this money on your top end profit, this is where Wall Street comes in. The investors are happy. That's good for investors, okay? But let me play a mind game with you. I was born in the 90s, okay? But I was not born early 90s. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to give away my age. Don't want you to age me up. Anyway, beside the point, there were people who had pensions and lived off of a single working household, right? Like the mom stayed at home, the man went to the job. Not saying that's how you have to live your life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the fact that somebody could do that is amazing, in my opinion. Because you can't do that today, even if you wanted to. You would genuinely have to. I'll say this. I live in a state where the poverty level of my state, well, I can't say my state, my area, my region, we'll say, is $65,000. I imagine that. Imagine looking somebody in the eye that makes $30K a year and says, not only are you below the poverty level, you don't even come up to half of the poverty level. That's a problem. Okay? And again, I think I'm kind of rambling. To all tie back to my point so we can move on to my next topic I want to briefly discuss. I just believe that there should be tax cuts and deductions tied to real world things. It should not just be you get a deduction because, or you get a tax cut because. Because no matter how you feel about Trump, no matter how you feel about the presidents and your parties, and we'll get into that in a second, no matter how you feel about them, broad tax cuts work in the moment and it sounds good until you realize, one, the debt of our country is going to just balloon, because then you lose revenue because the government doesn't make money, right? You already went over that. The government doesn't make money. So how do they get money? Taxes. If you cut taxes, woohoo for me, the person who wants my X amount of dollars back a year. But then do you cut other programs? Or all of a sudden, is Medicare and Medicaid going to go down? Is SNAP's going to go down? Right? If you're in a situation where you're fortunate enough you don't need that, I understand and I completely get it, how that's a very incentivizing thing of like, yeah, I shouldn't have to pay for you to survive. Figure it out on your own. And then I tie back to, okay, what about underemployment? What do you say to those who are working a great job and who need those programs, but they're making $120K a year? Right? But it's because the way their company is structured and set up. And then that's where you normally get them. Now, moving on. Getting out of money. Take another sip. Deal with it. Just kidding. Oh, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to get on the topic of parties real quick. Not going to spend too much time here. I'll probably do a different episode of the commute and go really into depth into this because this is very layered. But let me just talk about one thing that I've seen a lot on the news about. And it has my interest. It's genuinely piquing my interest. Okay. DSA, the Democratic Socialist Party, or of America. I forget what they call themselves. They have some great ideas. Great ideas. But their messaging is off. Okay. I don't know if you've gone to their website. Some things they say on their website are a little bit crazy. I'm not saying that all of them is wrong, but I mean, they're trying to basically, for lack of better words, okay, they have discussed getting rid of the president, not Trump. For those of you who don't like Trump and you're a Democrat, that's fine. The president as a thing, the Supreme Court, and the Senate. That's literally the whole system our government is built on. You can't have that in your slogan. And then on top of have that in your slogan, want to push socialistic ideas, which is fine. Like, I agree with universal healthcare. There's lots of things I agree with. But you're going to lose 95% of the population. That's a bad messaging. If that is what your ultimate goal is, that's fine. But baby step the country into that, right? Because if you're trying to come, and I get, we need disruption. Though I won't get into personal opinions, but there's a lot of things that the country does not agree with. I mean, I think one of the pollings I saw, which again, this is my opinion of me recalling memory. This is not 100% fact, so do not take this as the Bible or as word, or as whatever you want to say, your language. But people don't like the Senate right now. The Senate is dropping the ball in the sense of nobody approves, right? Like, some people say they're not doing enough for Trump. Some say they're not doing enough to combat Trump. Either way, they are failing in the eyes of the American people. So lots of people are saying, oh, you want to get rid of the people who just get paid a lot of money to take vacations all the time and don't really do anything? I get it. I completely understand. But that's not the answer to the grand question of how do we fix whatever you think is broken. That's not the answer, okay? As somebody who's in IT, I'll use kind of an IT idea, okay? If a system is breaking or something's going wrong, a bottleneck, this, that, and the other, you do not just shut down the system, because guess what? You impact millions of users, right? You can't just shut it down. What you have to do is isolate the issue, contain it, okay? Figure out what that issue is, figure out the root of the issue, and then you roll it, or you do a rolling starter for those who know IT terms, okay? You basically take what you currently have and you roll back your solution and you slowly implement over and over. You slowly implement, okay? That's how you solve solutions of systems, and that's a system thinker, okay? That is how you solve system issues. If you want to come in, and if it's something as simple as ICE wears body cams, because I believe they should as well. For those who believe that, to those who don't, I don't see why you wouldn't. Transparency is the biggest thing that we have in this world that we need. Like, you need transparency. The whole, well, won't go into that. That being said, that's a simple fix. Wear cams. Make it policy. Make it, if you do not have your camera on, you get deducted, you get fired, X, Y, Z. Easy. Fix. The system as a whole, you can't just do that. It's not that easy. Okay. Now, that's enough on that. Like I said, two-party. Well, I'll leave this kind of a cliffhanger for the next one, because I will do a whole thing on this. Have you ever? I'm gonna leave this with this thought, okay, on this part, and then we'll move on. Have you ever wondered why we have a two-party system? Why is it just Democrat and Republicans? Right? You know about, I mean, if you don't know about them, there's like libertarians, this, that, and the other. There's other parties. But the primaries, the people you actually vote for, are Democrat or Republican. Why? Let you think about that. We can discuss that further in the future, okay? Now, I talked the other day, and by the way, we're at 17 minutes, so we made it past. Thing hasn't fallen yet. No jinx. Knock on, I don't have wood. Knock on wood, okay? AI. A.I. Period. Okay, so as somebody again in tech and IT, AI is scary to a lot of people. First off, let's get one thing out of the way. We don't really have AI yet. We're close, but this whole, like, does NASA, right, like scientific corporations, they've had AI for years. It's just recently came into a commercial. Everybody can have it and use it, access it. Okay, but we don't have the true, like, scary iRobot AI yet. It's all programs, it's all databases, this, that, and the other. I won't get into the magic of it because it'll ruin it for some of you guys. But it's not just a brain in a jar thinking, right? Pretty cool though, but it's not. So, which AI company survives? Should AI be a private sector, a government-controlled, like a necessity, or like electricity, okay, like a resource? Should it be controlled by private companies like OpenAI, Anthropic? Or should it be a weird mixture, right, where maybe like the government is an investor in it? How do you think that should work, right? I don't know the answer. I really do wish I did. I don't know the answer to that. How do I say that? I do know this. All of our innovations, okay, electricity, airplanes, this, that, and the other, nuclear energy even, which I don't know if you know this, but we have nuclear energy. We just don't use it on a wide scale because it's not ready for all that yet. But like hospitals, they use nuclear power. But anyway, so the question is, which one will survive? How should it be used? Military, whichever one links themselves to the government, which was smart, because if you really think about it, OpenAI tried to do that and they failed. They didn't get in. They didn't get a government contract. You want to know who, oddly enough, got real close to Trump? Elon. And I don't know if you know this, but Teslas use AI, right? And that's a smart man to do that. It's a genius business decision. But so not to go too into depth on it, but the winner in AI is going to be who ties themselves to the government, or at least partially does. I don't really know how you want to slice that. There's a big bump coming up here just in case everything goes to heck real quick. Hang on, let me focus. Okay, I think we're good. So, yeah, like I said, because AI is a consumer, right? Like, they sell to companies use them, developers, software developers, this, that, and the other. What they're finding out, though, again, it's kind of something I said the other episode, is it's more expensive to use AI right now. It won't be in the future, but right now it's more expensive to use AI, okay? More expensive to use AI because of tokens, this, that, and the other, memberships, all that good stuff. So the question becomes, is the best business practice to become the cheapest? Well, I mean, yeah, in theory, competition, people are not going to want to pay a lot of money. Business to business sales, where like you sell your AI to company B, and company B uses it, and then you can kind of get it to where you just sell to multiple different companies. You can get contracts with them, right? But then the kind of demand is, well, do we use AI? Do we need AI? Da, da, da. So I personally believe that whichever AI company attaches themselves to the government, to the military especially, it's going to be the one that wins. Okay, that's going to be where you really, that's the company's going to be around for a long time. Okay, now moving on from AI. 5 years, yep, so okay, so one of the questions I also want to leave you with, because I will lock this off pretty soon here, about 20 minutes, so if you are commuting, hopefully you're getting close to done. As you can see, my commute's a little bit longer than y'all's, but now, after this, I'll take a little bit of time to reset mentally and get ready to go into work, because I do still have a job. I'm just going to we're just chilling, we're just driving on the way to work. 5 years from now, where do you think we'll be at? As Americans, as America, if you're not American, I'm American, for those who can't tell. As AI, technology, right? Where do you think we'll be? I don't know. That's a great question, right? I don't know. And I love these deep kind of thoughts, because it depends. Everything's on a pendulum, right? Everything's on a pendulum. So what's going to happen is, let me get over in this cruising lane so I can let these people that want to go zoom, zoom past me. AI is going to be a huge part of it. I'm guaranteed the medical field's probably going to really lean into AI to kind of cut down on administrative costs and such, to really kind of help. Because I have an inside source kind of. I have a nurse friend, and she does, they do checkups on their patients. They have to do reporting and this, that, and the other. Basically, if nothing's changed, right? If they go in and she's like, well, everything's same as yesterday, they don't write the report. AI writes the report for them, saying everything's the same. And that's just something simple. But that also frees up time for the nurses to actually be focused on real important things. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But like any innovation, there will be people who get hurt in that process. And that's never what's wanted, but it does happen. Okay? Now, fun fact, today, July 28th, in 1914, do you know what happened today? In 1914, that's the hint. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. I did not know that. And I love history, but I did not know that. That's cool to think about. In 1914, 100 and something years ago, that's pretty cool. Pretty awesome. But yeah, no, so that's an interesting fact there. For my sports fans out there, my Marlins, okay, they put a beat down on the Phillies. They actually snapped a 12-game losing streak. Don't know if you knew that. It's a pretty bad losing streak. It's hard to be a Miami fan. Let's see, what else happened in sports today? Trade deadline's coming up at MLB. I will be honest with you guys, I'm not a real big baseball fan. I'm more of a football and basketball kind of guy. So briefly, we'll discuss, this is kind of off the top of my head, not really in my notes, is LeBron going to 76ers? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the 76ers, right? I think they're going to be a really good team now. They have a real shot. I mean, but their problem's always been the same problem. It's not even, it won't even be LeBron added, Jaylen Brown. It'll be, can they stay healthy? Because Jaylen Brown, LeBron, and Tyrese is a great three, and I think they could win without Joel Embiid. But if Joel Embiid's involved, then you're really at the mercy, because you have LeBron at point, let Tyrese kind of go off the shooting guard, but Jaylen Brown at the three. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good lineup. LeBron at point two would be a monster. See, he's like a modern day Magic Johnson, even though he's older. All right, and then last thing let's see here what I have. The Mets. Yeah, the Mets beat the Braves. Lindor had 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. Again, not a huge baseball fan, but I do know, talking to my, well, one, brother-in-law loves the Braves. He can suck it. Okay. Second of all is I know that's a really good game. Really good game. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. It's been roughly about 25, I think, minutes, going close to, yeah, I think about 25 minutes it says. So thank you guys for joining me on the Commute episode 2. I do know the other one was privated. I'm going to public both of them because I feel like it'd be kind of just cool. But yeah, man, I'm just going to do this every day, chit-chat about what happened, have a deep conversation like this. If you enjoy it, subscribe. If you don't, no problem, no harm, no foul. Like I said, I'm doing this more out of potholes. Y'all see that? We're shaking all over the place. Potholes all over the place. But I'm just doing this because, man, I got time to spare on my commute. I got bored of just sitting here doing nothing. I wanted to start, I'm going to start. I feel like it's a cool concept. If you listen to it on your drive to work, cool. If you just kind of save them and listen to them at night or whatever, cool. But yeah, so thank you guys for listening, as always. Have a great rest of your day. And the last thing I guess I will leave you with is that I want you to think about that last question I had. 5 years from now, where do you think we will be? Speaking purely from, well, you can speak worldwide too. Worldwide, where will we be as a human race? Good question to think about. Thank you guys for all tuning in. All those people who did leave highs and buys and all that good stuff, thank you very much. I know it helps YouTube and all that stuff. I'm about to post a workout short in a second for my squats this morning. But yeah, you guys have a great rest of y'all's day. See y'all later.